Hello, and welcome to Embracing the Fight. I am Erica Lamar, your digital creator and host. And if you've been with me since January of 2023, you will know that Embracing the Fight is about normalizing the conversations surrounding physical and mental health issues and concerns. Now, why is that important? Think about it. For generations, people have either had illnesses or they died for unknown reasons because people just don't talk about it. If we want to go back and heal our families, we need to be able to talk about those things openly without feeling like you're going to be judged or looked down upon. That's why I started this podcast. And that's why I started the conversation off with talking about my journey through thyroid cancer, which I'm very proud to say and very happy to say that it feels like it's going well. Now, I still have some labs to take and I still have a few things that I need to do, but all is well, and I will continue to speak that all is well. However, if you are interested in being a part of the Embracing the Fight community, you can join the Facebook page at Embracing the Fight, or you can join Instagram at Embracing the Fight _, TikTok, Embracing the Fight, and of course, the YouTube channel. I'd love for you to click subscribe, comment, like, and share. All right. Now that I've gotten all that business out of the way, you see that I have a very handsome man on the screen with me today. And I'm going to allow him, a moment to introduce himself. But before I do that, this is episode 86, From the Rooter to the Tutor. So first, who are you and why did we name this episode From the Rooter to the Tutor?
Well, first off, thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Welcome.
It is an honor to be on your podcast. For those that don't know, my name is Rainey. I'm from Macon, Georgia. And the rooter to the tutor basically comes from the fact that I was diagnosed with colon cancer earlier this year. So I wanted to name the podcast something different, but I said, nope, keep it PG. Keep it PG rated. But I was diagnosed with colon cancer back in late March. Mm-hmm. And I stress the fact that people go get colonoscopies because, of my situation.
Right.
So I'm now a semi-advocate. I'm not like, a major advocate, but, I do tell people all the time to make sure that they go get checked out. And not just for colon cancer, but for anything that could possibly be a detriment to your health. Okay. It's important that we go to the doctor because as a Black man, I will personally say there's a stigma amongst us for going to get checked out. I don't know where this came from, but it seems to be like across the board, for not just one particular group or section of Black folks, but across the board, it seems like we have issues with going to get checked out.
Right.
I do my best to try to spread awareness in regards to my current situation, and hopefully people can actually get to a point to where they can prevent getting to the point where I am by getting a colonoscopy. So that's where the rooter to the tutor came from.
Okay. And then I know you guys are out there wondering, he said he was from Macon, and 9 times out of 10, I know all the guests from Macon. I had one that I didn't know personally, but someone had told me about them. But I know Al personally, have known him for many, many years, but I'm going to allow him this moment to tell you how we met.
We actually met through one of my brothers. I have a pretty big family, and one of my brothers, shout out to DeMarcus Rainey.
Hey, Marcus.
I'm gonna link this to him and let him know what's going on. But I met Erica through him, and she came over to our house one time, and he brought her over to visit, my family. And she realized that we had a pretty big family. I don't know. At that time, did he tell you did he tell you he had like multiple brothers? He didn't?
No, it was kind of like, oh, you want to hang out? And I was like, yeah. And we ended up at your house. I was like, this is interesting. Like, hey, like the door open, it feels like what, the Brady Bunch. Everybody was at the door like, hey.
Yep, I'm the oldest of five. And Marcus is the third oldest. I was like, okay, it's got a girl coming over there. That's what's up,
No,
you
it wasn't
know.
that
But
kind of party. It wasn't that kind of party. That was my best friend.
we didn't know.
I know y'all
Yeah,
did.
but I mean,
But especially y'all
it's
mama.
like,
She was
okay.
so sweet. Your mom was so sweet. She kept saying,
Yeah.
she was like, you could tell us the truth, Marcus.
She always wanted to see us, happy
Yeah.
with the mate and everything. So I think when she saw you, it was like, bells started going off at the top of her head, stuff like the
Probably.
light bulbs and everything.
I get it.
Yeah, she was a very so yeah.
Yeah, I understand. All right. So I have a question for you. You said you were diagnosed earlier this year in March, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what actually made you go and get tested?
Okay, so this is the story. So bear with me.
Okay.
So I was actually having some problems, um, severe fatigue. Um, I couldn't sleep. I had like the worst cases of insomnia that you could probably imagine. There were days where I could go to sleep 2, 3 days. So, I'm, struggling to maintain daily, but I couldn't go to sleep. So it was, intense fatigue, um, insomnia. I couldn't, TMI, I couldn't poop like I needed to.
Mm-hmm.
But it got to a point to where my insomnia got so bad to where I decided to go to get checked out.
Mm-hmm.
So I had switched jobs probably about a year and a half prior to me going on 3 years now, but about 2 years. And I had never actually, got a checkup or anything of that nature up until that point.
Mm-hmm.
It's my fault. However, I went to the doctor. I found a primary care physician here in Macon.
Mm-hmm.
Went to her, and it was a Friday that I went to her, and I saw her. Being that I was a brand new patient, they ran a battery of tests, they did blood work and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So that Friday, came back home. That Saturday morning, probably about maybe 5 o'clock that morning, I got a call. And of course, I didn't answer the phone because my phone was on mute.
Right.
But I got a call and they said, well, Mr. Rainey, this is such and such from the labs. We need you to go to the emergency room ASAP.
Wow.
I'm like, okay, all right. So, he told me a bunch of medical jargon. I'm like, man, I'm not Doogie Howser. I don't know what the heck you're talking about. So ultimately, I went to the hospital, I went to the ER,
Mm-hmm.
and they already knew I was coming. So when I came, they ran some additional blood tests and all this kind of stuff. And come to find out, my blood levels were extremely low.
Wow.
And to give you an idea, typically your blood levels, I'm not a physician, but this is basically what I've learned. Your blood level, for you to have a normal blood level, it should be somewhere between 11 and 14.
Mm-hmm.
That's where your blood is actually doing what it needs to do. It's going through the body. It's doing what it's supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
My blood level was at a 4.
Ooh.
Yeah. So that was the cause of the fatigue. That was the cause of the insomnia. Because, to be perfectly frank, my body wasn't pumping blood to like it needed to, and I was told that day that had I left it alone and not, got checked out or whatnot, it could have actually resulted in a stroke because my blood levels were so low. So they admitted me into the ER that day. Um, and they were kind of shocked because they were like, wow, your blood level's so low. You walked in here on your own. So yeah. And they were like, wow, most people when their blood levels are that low, they're in wheelchairs and stuff. But
Mm-hmm.
Randy Strong, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
God was,
Yeah. Blood God.
God, you know.
Mm-hmm.
But as far as it goes, I was there the whole weekend actually. I didn't get released from the ER until Tuesday of the following week. So they ultimately gave me 5 pints of blood and they
Mhm.
gave me a bag of iron. And at that point, my blood levels had went up to like maybe a 7 or so.
Mhm.
So at the time, I was taking ferrous sulfate, this iron pill, because my doctor was like, okay, well, you need to take this, blah, blah, blah. So as time progressed, they were like, well, we need to run some tests. So they ran a battery of tests while I was in the hospital.
Mhm.
They couldn't find anything. So it's like,
Wow.
well, it's something that's causing this. And they asked me, so, well, did you have blood in your stools? Like, nah, I didn't have any blood in my stool. Somehow or another, well, to make a long story short, I finally got a colonoscopy maybe like a couple of weeks later.
Mhm.
And the colonoscopy came back that I had colon cancer.
So wait,
So
before you go into that, from the time that you said you spent the weekend in the hospital to the 2 weeks later, you were actually diagnosed with you had a colonoscopy and you were diagnosed with colon cancer. What was life like in between there? Did you still have the insomnia? Did they give you something for it? I mean, what did they do, to treat those symptoms?
that's a good question. Well, when my blood levels went up, I felt more energized because my body was depleted of a lot of blood.
Mm-hmm.
So, once they gave me that blood and my levels went up to 7, they were still kind of concerned because even though they gave me the 5 pints of blood and the iron, my blood levels were still low. Because what happened was, and I may be kind of convoluting the timeline. So after I got out of the hospital, I went and got a follow up with my physician like a week later,
Okay.
and they ran blood tests, and that's when they found out my blood level was up, but it wasn't getting higher like they thought it would. So that's what prompted the additional tests and everything.
Mm-hmm.
So, my quality of life got better. Like I said, I had a little bit more energy. I could go upstairs without breathing hard and all
Mm-hmm.
that kind of stuff. Um, I was able to sleep, even though my sleep wasn't as good as it is now.
Mm-hmm.
But I was able to get a couple of good nights sleep, within a week's time. So after that follow up with my doctor,
Mm-hmm.
about a weekend or so later, I was set up for a colonoscopy, and that's when they found out that I had stage 3 colon cancer. So, um,
Wow.
and it's crazy because the physician that did the colonoscopy, he was a brother, he was a black guy, and he
Mm-hmm.
was like, man, he said, yeah, and it was cool. Is looking back at it, it was funny how he actually told me
Mm-hmm.
because I'm laying on the table and stuff like that, and you're recouping from being knocked out for the colonoscopy. He was like, "Yeah, man, just want to let you know you got cancer, man, but we can handle it for you." Like, okay. And at
Yeah.
that point in time, it's like I'm trying to process this stuff,
Mm-hmm.
and it was like he's like he showed me the actual the mass via the colonoscopy. He says,
Mm-hmm.
well, this is the mass. We can remove it. And, once we remove it, you will be good to go. So, my brother-in-law going to do the same thing, man. We just removed the mass and bam. Like, okay, so that gave me a little bit of relief, but
Okay.
they wanted to run additional tests.
Mm-hmm.
So I had a CAT scan actually scheduled about maybe 2 weeks after the colonoscopy.
Mm-hmm.
So, my biggest concern, of course, when you get it, I'm pretty sure you know this, when you get that nose, hey, you've been diagnosed with cancer,
Mm-hmm.
you kind of like are in limbo, and you don't want to go to the worst case scenario, but then
Right.
again, you're like, oh, that's most of the time that's all you hear if you're not actually on the other side. Oh my God, this person, they got it, and then 2 weeks after they found out, they're
No.
dead,
Yep.
and that's just a stigma. It's a worst case scenario all the time. Most times I've heard about people getting cancer. That was the situation. So, and
Okay.
all enough, colon cancer runs in my family, but you don't never put two and two together until it finally like you're like, okay, well, I'm part of the gene pool of this family, so
Yeah.
it's likely to happen.
Okay. So I got two
So
questions.
okay,
So the first question, when you heard that you had stage 3 cancer, Who was the first person that you called to tell?
Okay. You bring back it was okay. So the first person I told was my sister-in-law because she actually picked me up from a colonoscopy.
Okay.
Because when you have a colonoscopy,
Yep.
they give you
You can't drive.
oh my God, the stuff I asked them, I said, when I woke up from the colonoscopy, I'm like, I said, is it done? They said, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Can y'all like is this stuff over the counter that you give?
Right.
I'm like, I told him, I said, I didn't even realize it was happening. And I said, when I woke up, I said, I was dreaming that I was at home watching TV. That
Mm-hmm.
stuff is good. So I
Yep.
don't know what they give you, but anyway,
Mm-hmm.
I told my sister-in-law and she took it well, excuse me. She took it well. Then I called her husband, which is my brother, of course, told him. And then the first friend that I told, um, he kind of took he well ain't no kind of he took the news hard.
Oh.
So I called him. I said, man, I said, you sit down, blah blah blah. I said, yeah. I said, man, I had my colonoscopy done and I was diagnosed with colon cancer. He started crying.
Mm. Well, at least you know you
And,
have a friend that love you for sure.
right, but the
Mm-hmm.
thing of it is that I I kept trying to console him because, dude,
He was
like
like, it's not like that. Yeah.
right, I'm like, I need positivity in my life, like, because,
Right.
but see, what really got me when I
Mm-hmm.
told him that after he actually, got himself, gained his composure, he
Mm-hmm.
asked me, he says, well, is it terminal? And I think that kind of set me off.
Right.
Well, ain't no kind. It did set me off because it's like what we just talked about. People think the worst case scenario whenever you're diagnosed with cancer.
Mm-hmm.
People beat it every day.
Yeah.
Yes, it does take people out. Unfortunately, my heart goes out to those, that have succumbed because of cancer.
Mm-hmm.
But people do beat it. People do get over that hump and they live successful, fruitful lives after the fact.
Mm-hmm.
But he asked me, was it terminal? I kind of got upset.
Yeah.
And I'm
I can
like, dude,
imagine.
I said, man, I don't need this negativity, man. I said, no, it's not terminal from what I understand, because this is the early stages of me getting diagnosed.
Right.
So he got himself together and stuff and whatnot. But everybody else that I talked to, they were like, they were kind of shocked, but they were supportive. And I had a couple other friends tell me, like, man, when you told me, Al, man, I didn't know what to think, man. I actually, got sad. Like, no, I don't get sad, man, because I'm not coming to you telling you, look, man, my cancer's terminal. I only have like 6 months to live, blah, blah, blah.
Right.
So from then on, it got more positive and stuff. And that was one of the reasons why I decided to get back on Facebook to
Mhm.
kind of share my story in terms of what I was going through and everything. So
Okay. So the second question, you mentioned that you had other family members without, saying their names or anything like that. Can you give the relationship to you that they are when they found out that they had colon cancer?
yeah, my aunt, one of my mom's sisters, because my
Hmm.
mom, you thought our family was big. My mom was actually the oldest of 8 kids.
Wow.
So
A
it's a
lot of
bunch
people.
of us.
A lot of people.
Lot.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, my matriarchal side of the family, they were doing some busy stuff back in the day. But
That's like,
anyway,
look, that's like my parents, because I think my mom has like 16 brothers and sisters. And my dad
mm,
has like, I think it's 12 or 13 of them.
yeah, I
A
have
lot of
one.
people.
My grandmother's sisters, she had 13 kids.
A lot of people.
And another one of them had like eight. Another one of them had, like I said, my grandmother, yeah, she had 8 kids. No, she had 7 kids. So
Briefly.
yeah, it's a lot of us.
Yeah.
Yeah, we all over Macon in
Yeah.
middle Georgia and Atlanta area. But as far as it goes, my aunt and my grandmother, she actually died of cancer, but I don't think it was colon cancer. I could be wrong.
Hmm.
She passed away, and then I have another aunt on my mom's side. She actually had some form of blood cancer.
Wow.
And thankfully, she gave a report a couple of weeks ago that she's right now she's cancer free. So yeah, it actually runs. Yeah, thank God. But yeah, she my family and like I said, I didn't put two and two together
Right.
until you start thinking about it and stuff. And it's like, wow, man, it is hereditary, So in that particular situation, it's one of those things where it's like hindsight is 2020,
Right.
Um, you see stuff happen, but you don't really put two and two together until it actually happens to you.
Right. Right.
And all you have to do is move forward and hope and pray for the best. So
Mhm. And that's just like, that's why us talking about this makes other people think about it. And then they'll actually start talking about it and start doing something about it. So the next question I have for you. So now you're at the point where the doctor is basically, I mean, I would love to know who the doctor is, because anyone who could tell you, say, oh, we got this, we could take care of this, that takes you to another level of positivity, rather than them sitting there saying, oh, look, we're sorry, you got 6 months. This man told
right.
you right away that they could take care of it. So what was the actual course of action? What did they tell you you had to do?
Okay, so after I got diagnosed, the first thing was that they actually set up an appointment for a CAT scan. That was the next thing because of the cancer. I don't know how long it had been festering. It had
Mhm.
to been for a while, based on some stuff I shared on Facebook.
Right.
But what happened was is that they set up a CAT scan, and I went to that probably about 2 weeks after I got the colonoscopy
Mhm.
because they wanted to make sure that the cancer hadn't spread. And that was, I think, my biggest concern.
Right.
More so than getting diagnosed with cancer, I wanted to see whether or not it had, spread.
Mhm.
So I went to Forsyth. They had a facility up there, Forsyth, Georgia, and they had a facility up there. So I did the CAT scan, um, and a couple of days later, it came back negative. They checked all my vital organs and everything and checked for any other abnormalities and whatnot, and nothing came back, thank God, nothing came back, positive. So I was just dealing with the colon cancer. So after that,
Mhm.
they assigned a doctor. His name is Dr. Armstrong. I have to get back with you on the colonoscopy doctor because I can't remember his name.
Yeah, I mean,
But
it's fine.
I'll let you know. But the surgeon, the colorectal surgeon, was named David Armstrong,
Okay.
and that guy was awesome. He was phenomenal in terms of just the whole process and everything. So
Mhm.
initially, what I was told was that the cancer, because it hadn't spread, it was isolated in one area of my colon. They
Mhm.
could just do colorectal surgery, remove it,
Mhm.
and I will be okay.
That's good.
So what happened was, of course, I went to surgery in May, and they were going to do what's called I can't remember the technical term, but they go through your navel and they do an incision. They
Mhm.
cut out the cancerous mass and then they pull it out. Well,
Mhm.
mine had gotten big; it was huge,
So that's
and
laparoscopic, right?
laparoscopy. That's it. Thank you.
You
So
will.
that's they were going to do that, but they ended up having to do a surgical incision and cut me open to remove it
Mhm.
because the mass had gotten so big. So they removed it, sewed me up. I was in the hospital for like maybe 8 days.
Mhm.
I went in the hospital May the 8th and I got out on the 17th. So it was like 9 days, 8, 9 days.
Okay. So how
And
large was the
after,
mass?
oh my God, it was pretty big. I'm gonna see if I can pull it up on Facebook, but it was one of those things that it was like I couldn't believe it that it was that big because
Mhm.
I'm thinking that, it was a small mass, blah blah blah. But I would have to say, 'cause my phone is tripping. I would have to say it was probably about the size of a grapefruit, maybe a little bit bigger.
Wow.
Yeah, it's on my Facebook page. When I first got the surgery,
Mhm.
Like I said, I just wanted to post the people a precautionary tale, like, look, I could have had this could have been avoided had I had, my colonoscopy maybe 2, 3 years ago,
Yeah.
but I didn't. Yeah, it was huge.
Wow.
And yeah, they removed it. Like I said, they cut me in from maybe like an inch and a half from the top of my navel to right below my navel to remove it. That's how big it was.
Okay. And you
So
said 8 days later, you were recovering
yep.
and okay.
Mhm. I was recovering within the 8, 9 day time frame.
Mhm.
After I got the surgery, I started feeling a whole lot better.
Mhm.
My blood level started to increase because that mass was actually siphoning blood.
Wow.
Um, yeah, it was that's that was the root cause of my fatigue and my insomnia, because that mass itself had attached itself to blood vessels and it was drawing blood directly to that mass. So, I started feeling better. Once I got out of the hospital, I was able to work out
Mhm.
without any extreme fatigue. I was able to just do what normal activities I had trouble doing beforehand. It became a lot easier. And, my blood levels actually went up. And that was a good thing. So from there, after I had the surgery, they did a biopsy on the mass, and they found that there were some polyps that were in the area that they removed.
Mhm.
And the polyps had not, well, there were polyps. The polyps were basically, the way I can describe it is that, and this is what I was told by the surgeon,
Mhm.
that with those polyps that they found, I would need to take chemotherapy,
Okay.
because at that point, that area that they removed the mass had an opportunity to the mass had an opportunity to grow back if they didn't kill those cells in the area. So at that point, I was referred to an oncologist. Her name is Dr. Doshi. She's an Indian physician. She's pretty cool too.
Mhm.
And she, they ran tests and they shared tests with her and stuff. And she told me basically the same thing,
Mhm.
that I needed to do the chemotherapy. There was a 15% chance at the time before I started taking the chemotherapy that the cancer could actually come back.
Oh wow.
So at that point, that's when they started to do the chemotherapy, or put me on chemotherapy treatment to get that number down as low as possible to zero if they
Okay.
could. So that's where I'm at right now, currently in my recovery from the colon cancer. So,
Okay. So how many sessions did they say you had to have in order for, to be cancer free?
well, when it first started, I started my treatments in, I don't want to lie, I'm trying to think. Okay, so
Estimate
the
is fine.
next one, the next treatment is this Tuesday, so it'll be my sixth treatment. So I was given 6 months, because I started taking my treatments at the end of July,
Mhm.
and yeah, it'd be six treatments. So technically, if all goes well with the treatment, I should be done sometime in February.
So when all
So
goes well, when all goes well,
that's right.
February, you'll be done. Yes. So
Uh,
how does it make you feel?
in terms of,
Do you like feel tired after you go have the chemo, or you just feel normal?
ah,
Because I know a lot of people, when they have chemo, they lose weight. They talk about feeling clammy and fatigued, and all these different things. How does the chemo actually make you feel?
well, I can tell you right now, the treatment that I'm on doesn't do anything for my weight. I've been losing weight just, eating proper and exercising and stuff.
Okay,
I
good.
and I know this is kind of difficult for people to comprehend.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, I'm a big guy. I've lost a lot of weight. Trust me, since I got diagnosed.
Mm-hmm.
But like you said, most people lose weight, but the treatment that I'm on doesn't do that for me.
Hmm.
However, I don't know if you notice these raccoon eyes,
Hmm.
the
It's
little
not a big.
darkness above and below my eyeballs. That's a byproduct of it. One of the biggest things that I actually have with the treatment that they have me on is I have neuropathy.
Mhm.
And if you don't know what it is, basically it's like a nerve, disorder where certain
Mhm.
things get set off like tingling in your hands and feet. So I feel it more in my hands more so than my feet. Although the last chemotherapy infusion that I had, it had the back half of my feet, like the sole of my feet, sore. So
Hmm.
when I walked, yeah, it was kind of strange because I had up until then that was my fifth treatment. So
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, so I don't know, and I told him, I said, well, this is what I experienced. Because the way it works is that I go in and typically my infusions are on a Tuesday. So I go in on a Tuesday and they prep me, they do a blood test to make sure that I guess they gauge everything in terms of how things are going with, the treatment or whatnot. Then once they get the blood test back, they send over a prescription to the pharmacy because they actually mix the chemotherapy that I take
Mhm.
there. And then once they do that, they bring it over to the infusion center and they hook me up to that particular um to the machine to do the infusion. So I don't know if I can show it, but this is the
The
port
port.
right here.
Hmm.
And this is where they cut me to put the port in.
Hmm.
But basically, what they do, they hook me up to a machine
Hmm.
and then I start the infusion. So that takes, well, actually, before you do the infusion, they give me a mixture of anti-nausea medication and steroids because that's kind of, yeah, they give me steroids.
Hmm.
Sometimes I feel like I can turn over a truck, but but anyway, they give me the steroids
Hmm.
and they give me the anti-nausea medication. And then they give me, after they give me that, then they give me the chemo. And then once that's done, then they give me this bag that has additional chemotherapy medication or treatment in it. They hook it up and I bring it home. And then it runs between Tuesday and Wednesday, Thursday morning, anywhere. It depends on how treatment is done,
Hmm.
but anywhere between maybe noon and 1 o'clock, the actual bag is done its thing. The pump is done its thing. So I go back down and they take the pump off.
Hmm.
Um, and that's how that works. So, but yeah, I've experienced like nausea.
Hmm.
I haven't experienced any vomiting, but nausea, upset stomach, um, uh, constipation,
Hmm.
and the neuropathy. Sometimes I get. It depends on. I don't know what the factors are, but sometimes it's crazy because it's kind of like the slot machine.
Hmm.
Certain things are more pronounced than they are on one treatment. Then another thing pops up and says, "Hey, I'm gonna take the wheel this time." So, but typically it's the nausea, the constipation, the upset stomach, the neuropathy, and sometimes I feel a little bit of fatigue. But most of everything now has been the neuropathy. Like my fingers is, I don't know. Like I look at my fingers, they're darker towards the tip.
Hmm.
You can probably see them, but that's not normally how they look. But
Okay.
yeah, those are typically the symptoms that I feel are the side effects from the treatment. So
Okay. And I know you said you were losing weight prior to this. So how much actually have you lost?
since April, I probably lost about 70 pounds,
And how much more are you planning to lose?
a whole bunch.
I know you gotta go. I know you gotta go. If you don't want to say, you don't have to
No,
say.
no, no, no. I don't mind saying it. I actually have a goal. I want to lose another 100 pounds
Mhm.
to be where I want to be.
Okay.
Um, at one point, long time ago, I was like huge. I actually tipped the scales at like almost 500 pounds, believe it or not.
Um,
But I kind of got into a regimen. And then, of course, when these symptoms started happening, that kind of aided in the weight loss as far as the low blood and all that kind of stuff. And I kind of lost weight rapidly during that
Mm-hmm.
time.
Mm-hmm.
So, but since the surgery, I've lost, like I said, about 40, 50 pounds, give or take.
Okay.
Um,
Let's
and by
celebrate
my
that. That's great.
Yep, you're right. Now,
Right.
my birthday, I got a goal to lose. My birthday is in December. So I
Mm-hmm.
got a goal to at least 30 pounds by then. So
Okay, you got it. You will definitely do it. I'll be cheering for you.
thank you.
So
Thank you very
I'm
much.
curious. I know you talk about, the neuropathy. You don't have diabetes too, do you?
No, no, I don't have I don't have the sugar, like they say in the South here. I don't have that sugar, baby.
You got no sugar.
But no, I don't. That surprisingly, for me being as overweight as
Mhm.
I've been pre-diabetic, but right now I'm at a point to where my weight is at a point to where I'm not in any danger of of having the sugar.
Okay, so we're gonna speak that neuropathy is gonna go away completely. And then after we get off, I can tell you about something that we have that can help you, with the raccoon eyes, especially if it's something that just came on and it's not something that you normally or naturally had. So the question is now, what advice would you give someone who is out there wondering, do I have colon cancer? Or is this just, indigestion and I'm just tired because I'm working too much? What would you tell them to do?
Well, the first thing I would say is if it's something that is what you would not consider normal,
Mhm.
uh, like upset stomach, my stomach's on the rocks, diarrhea, that kind of stuff, whatever the case is, go get yourself checked out. If anything, you could, go to your doctor, pay if hopefully you have insurance, you pay your copay, and then you get checked out, and they can basically rule out a lot of stuff. Typically with blood tests, they can find out a lot of things in terms of what you're going through. Now, if your experience or your symptoms are as extreme as mine, I
Mhm.
would say go see a doctor immediately. Um, in my case, with the cancer, the colon cancer, it could have been prevented had I had my, colonoscopy, sometime. I mean, hindsight is 2020.
Mhm.
Can't deal with the past. Just only move on.
Right.
But make sure if you're a guy, I don't know what the age is for women, because
It's
women get
35.
colon cancer, it's 35.
I think so.
So 35, or if you have a family history of cancer, get yourself checked out. Anything that you don't feel like is a regular, normal feeling or the way you should feel, you should take note. Now, my allergies are crushing me, and I'm taking my Zyrtex and stuff. So I know I don't have to go to the hospital for that because I know what it is. But anything outside of something that you don't normally experience, go get yourself checked out. Get your routine visits set up. If your family again has a history of cancer, whatever testing that you need to go get, whether it's for breast cancer, lymphatic cancer, lung cancer, whatever the case is, go get yourself checked out because an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. I don't know who said it, but I remember that,
Yep.
and that's the truth. So you can go and get yourself checked out, go get whatever, get a physical, go get your physicals and anything. I mean, and it's not just cancer. I mean, because you have diabetes, you have all other types of diseases that you can actually suffer from. So if you're not feeling your best and you're not feeling the way you should, go get yourself checked out. Get those routine checkups, get those routine colonoscopies, mammograms, whatever you need to do to stay ahead of the game. You know,
Okay.
um, I'm thankful that I'm at a point to where I know that, I'm not in a position where my cancer is like there. Technically, I would say that I'm cancer free, but I'm not cancer free because of the polyps.
Mhm.
But my situation could have been a whole lot worse had I actually just not done what I needed to do in the first place to be in the position that I'm in now.
Right.
that's what I would actually advise in
Okay.
terms of, you know, my advice to people.
And you had mentioned that you've done some podcasting and some advocating. Are there any plans to do, a podcast specifically tuned to your journey through colon cancer, or is there something else that you're thinking about doing that you want us to follow?
Well, let me get the whole part. Well, let me just say this. I'm actually working on a podcast. And the podcast is not necessarily around my cancer journey, although I will talk about it.
Mhm.
I have an idea that I'm working on. I've actually recorded a couple of episodes.
Mhm.
The podcast is going to be called the Positive Podcast, and the reason why it's called the Positive Podcast is because we see a lot of things in society in America now that is just, it tugs at you over a period of time. Social media is a wonderful tool. I love the idea of being able to create content for people because, I am a YouTuber and I'll explain that in a second. But social media can also be, for a better term or words, a cesspool
Mhm.
where a lot of negativity is just out there, just everywhere, anywhere you go. You're gonna always have good and bad, but sometimes it seems like the bad stuff or the not so wholesome stuff is kind of like put on the forefront. So my podcast is basically just going to be revolved around positivity, talking about the good in people, news stories, and of course, I will share my my journey in terms of what I'm going through in terms of my cancer and everything. So that's pretty much where I'm at with that. I got a couple other projects going on in terms of some YouTube channels. I don't know if people noticed, but you see a whole bunch of stuff behind me. I'm big into pop culture, comic books, and all that kind of stuff. And I love Godzilla. That's a picture that I got from a comic convention in North Carolina. My Bigfoot and my Godzilla stuff over there. So I'm in a group called the Comic Hall Crew, and you probably know a good bit of people that's in the group
Really?
because most of us are from Macon. Yeah. Are you familiar with Matthew Odom, right?
No.
He's a photographer. Okay, so you don't know him. So do you know Xavier Randall?
No.
You know, or
I'm on the
Larry
east
Crockett?
side, so
Whatever.
I
You know
kind of I
Macon.
kind of
Come on,
stayed
man.
on
You
there.
tripping.
I
Macon is
would.
well, I feel you. I understand. Macon is one of them places where you know somebody that knows somebody that knows somebody else.
That's true.
But I'm pretty sure if you saw them, you would probably say, "Yeah, I've seen that person before." Blah blah blah. Even though you don't live in Macon anymore.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the main thing is the positive podcast. I want to get that started as soon as possible because I feel like there's a need or niche for just people to talk about positive, just positivity and try to breathe positivity into other people's lives. You see a lot of podcasts, unlike yours, where you're promoting positivity and advocating for your fight in cancer. You have a lot of podcasts out there, and I'm sure you've seen them, relationship podcasts and you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
So my thing
Mhm.
is, I want to approach it in a different way to where people can actually listen to me and get motivation or some type of positive aspect from what I'm doing. So it's coming soon.
Okay.
Hopefully, I have it up and running within the next couple of weeks. So
Okay. Well, I look forward to it. Let me know, if there's anything I can do to help. And is there anything else that you wanted to say to our viewers, our listeners out there?
well, if you made it this far listening to me, I will appreciate you that you continue to listen to Erica. If you are not subscribed, go ahead and subscribe to her channel. Share and like channel and like her content because I have watched quite a few of her podcasts, even though she was tripping before we started recording. But I did, and I have actually shared because of the simple fact that yeah, I'm gonna say it. But yeah, because of the simple fact that she's promoting positivity. And one thing about it, when you're dealing with people with illnesses, whether they be terminal or otherwise, positivity is one of the biggest things that person can actually, get a benefit from, especially from their peers. And one other thing to talk to you, if you have someone that's actually going through something, major life event as far as health, talk to them, make sure they're okay. Because you have a lot of people that'll ask you, how you feeling. And that's all in good, but you rarely have people that will say, how are you feeling up here?
Right.
Because Erica could probably relate to this, being diagnosed with an illness like cancer, diabetes, or whatever the situation is. To some people, you can be strong because I feel like I'm strong enough to handle the situation. Every now and then,
Yeah.
sometimes you might not be feeling good up here.
Mhm.
And it's not necessarily that you're a Debbie Downer or anything of that nature. We're human
Right.
and we go through things, and we can't be like, "Ah," all the time. There's going to be times where we're going to be kind of like in I ain't gonna say a dark place, but we're gonna be in a place that we don't want to be.
Right.
So if you have people around you that are actually experiencing these types of things, don't just ask them, how they're doing physically. Ask them about how their mindset is, their mental state, because that plays a big role in that person getting over whatever disease or illness that they're going through. Um, I've heard plenty of stories where people when they give up,
Mhm. Yep.
it's a wrap because their mind is not in a position to where they want to keep on. Some people go through what we're going through, what Eric and I are going through for years and years and years. That takes a toll, not on your body, but up here.
Yep.
So yeah, if you got people that that's going through something like this, check on their mental health. Make sure that they're doing all right, because a lot of people, they're really good at hiding stuff.
Mhm.
And you may not know it just by talking to them, but when you really talk to them,
Yep.
you might be able to find out that they might not be where they need to be. You could be that person that will give them that unction to carry on, to move on, and to remain positive about their situation.
Yeah. All right, that
That's all I
was
got
a
to say.
good word. That's good. That's good. So thank you, Al, for taking time out of your busy day to sit with me on Embracing the Fight. I truly appreciate your message and all the positivity that you brought and all the good information that you shared as well.
It's been a pleasure. And I don't mind coming back in a future episode,
Okay. Yeah,
being
because
that
we
I'm
want to
cancer.
know what happened. We want to know how this
Right.
turns out in February. So look
Yeah.
forward to having you back in February, letting everybody know you rang the bell and all is well. But yeah, I look forward to it. All right. Thank you all so much for tuning in to this episode 86, from the rooter to the tutor. I want you all to have an absolutely amazing day.